what the feed quality is like. Hopefully we will not have a repeat performance. Hopefully that will rectify it. Judy McQueen, hello Judy. Camilla Rellan says good evening, so excited about the Druids. Good stuff. Mike Egan, greetings from Maine, looking forward to tonight's story. Mariana Dunn is in Virginia. I presume is that Virginia and County Cavan. Nick Eska Casterton, hi Anthony, hi everyone. You're very welcome. Callum Barrett, evening all. Hope everyone is well and keeping safe. Wendy Holmes, hey Anthony. Rob Murphy, hello again. Freya is in from Sweden. Good evening, Anthony. Everyone, hope you're all getting on well. David Gilroy is watching. Hello, David. Judy McQueen, hello, Anthony. Jane Myatt, hi, Anthony and everyone. Rowan Grove managed to get this to load. Greetings from Denver. Hello, Rowan. Good of you to join us. And Megan Walter says back! Exclamation mark on YouTube. Okay, hopefully everything's working now. Barbara Barney is saying hello from Connecticut. Hello, Barbara. You're very tough. Fáilte road. Cade Mila Fáilte. 100,000 welcomes to Gach Dinne Fudum Dowan. To everyone around the world. Barb Jordan. Hi, everyone. Joseph O'Hagan. Hello from the mountains of Mourne. Hello, Joseph. Martha Herrick. Bravo. Hello, Anthony. And all from Florida. Sorry for Ken's loss. Absolutely. And thank you for those sentiments, Martha. Alex, be at peace, father of Ken. Glass of memory will be raised for him. Absolutely. Catherine Woodruff is in sunny Wisconsin, which makes a nice change back to the sweet part of the day. We had a cloudy day all day long, and it waits until just after sunset for the sky to clear. Sorry. Federica Guy is saying hello. Good evening, Federica. How are you? Kira McHugh is in Armagh. Good evening, Kira. Erin Durrett. No worries, Anthony. Good luck, Jane White. Internet's been spotty all day. Yeah, it's a funny thing because I actually improved the internet speed. Something that I sorted out from last night. So something I did mustn't have agreed. But anyway, that's technology, isn't it? Lisa Collins is in Minnesota. Hello, Lisa. Lisa O'Quailon. Mariana Dunn, Alexandria, Virginia, across the Potomac from DC. Sorry, yes, now I remember. Good evening to you, and very nice of you to join us from close to Washington, DC. Lee Ann Brenner Williams is in Illinois, and it's a beautiful day there. Brilliant. Joe Monks. Hello, Joe. How are you keeping? Hope you're well. Patricia McAteer is watching. Hello, Patricia. Catherine Wall McManus says Jacqueline Kennedy Art, Elaine Cooney, Druids, yay. Good. And on YouTube, Misha says hello. Kendall says good day, Anthony. Excited for today's topic. Tuning in from the Oregon coast again. Brilliant. Megan Walters is in Mississippi in the USA. Long Arc says there you are now. Misha says Oregon coast is beautiful. I'm sure it is. Misha, I'm in Florida, but I'd rather be in Ireland. Brilliant. I never could stand the hot summers here. Don't complain too loudly. Anyway, let's get to it. And we're introducing the Druids tonight. The Druids are a very interesting topic. Controversial topic as well, as we will perhaps explore a little bit. Just to say, as usual, thank you to all of the patrons of Mythical Ireland who support this live stream and everything else that I do. And if you want to find out more about becoming a patron, go to patreon.com, patreon.com/Mythical Ireland. And there you can find out about what sort of rewards you get, because you get rewards for being a Mythical Ireland patron. And so perhaps there's a level of patronage there that might suit you to support the work that is done here. Robert Arbuckle says hello again, Anthony, and hi everyone. Hello to you. Yvette Tilema is in from the Adirondacks. I don't know where that is. My apologies. And Jeannie Jessup says Eastern North Carolina, watching and learning. Very good. Even tough Fáilte road, Jeannie. And I'll just paste in the Patreon link into Facebook as well. Okay, so we're going to introduce the topic by reading a little bit from my favourite volume, or one of my favourites, the Oxford Dictionary of Celtic Mythology by James McKillop. So the Druids. What time are we on? We've taken 10 minutes just to read the comments. Of course, to get over the technical hitch too. An order of male and female priest philosophers of pre-Christian Celtic society known in continental Europe, the Mediterranean basin, Great Britain and Ireland, often thought to be comparable to Roman Flamines or Flamines or the Brahmins of India. According to classical commentators, Druids in Gaul and perhaps elsewhere had authority over divine worship, officiated at sacrifices, including perhaps human sacrifices, exercised supreme authority over legislative and judicial matters, and educated elite youth along with aspirants to their order. They ate acorns to make themselves ready for prophecy. I suspect in Ireland they actually ate cnu, the hazelnuts. Druids paid no taxes and were not required to do battle. And there's Justin Moffat. Hello, Justin. Justin from Ishnock. How are you? And Guido Bruce is watching. Hello, Guido. Tá fáilte roimh go léir. Erica Rivertree is in Louisville in Kentucky. You're very welcome on YouTube, Erica. At important assemblies, they took precedence in speaking before kings or chieftains, as was the case in the court of Crohor Magnessa. Teaching and sacred knowledge was oral, pupils being required to memorize a great number of verses, spending as long as 20 years in study. And where did we see that? Wasn't it in the Fianna, in the Finn cycle, when we were reading about Fionn McCool in the past couple of nights? We saw that in order to become a member of the Fianna, in addition to all of the feats that you had to do, protecting yourself from all the dozens of spears that were being thrown at you, etc., and being able to run through the forest without cracking a twig underfoot, you had to be very learned in poetry. Many lessons were taught in the form of riddles. Because of the lack of written texts, we must infer their teaching from non-druidical sources. The curriculum, this is very interesting, the curriculum included astronomy and natural science. Absolutely, of course it did. Astronomy and the knowledge of the movements of the sky was fundamentally important in prehistoric times. Druidical calculation of time perceived night or darkness as preceding day or light, which is very interesting. Esther Guggesburg says, hello everyone, hello Anthony, greetings from Bern in Switzerland. Hello Esther, very nice to have you along again. Very good evening to you. Tá fáilte roit. And the Royal Hill of Tara Ranger says, hello Anthony, seen your video on walkabout in Drogheda, thumbs up. Yeah, I was on a walkabout today and I did, they're on the YouTube channel there, and actually on Facebook. I did a walkabout and I talked about Millmount and some of the myths, which was great. I should mention that tonight's topic was suggested by the Curious Celt and Aaron Durrett, although I think Aaron wanted to know more about druidical wands. But the Curious Celt on YouTube is saying, please help me, Anthony. My dog was chewing on my hazel stick and now he has a small set of antlers on him. Any advice? Yeah, my advice would be hit him over the head with the stick and say a few words and hopefully he'll change back again. Brilliant. And of course that pertains to the story of Sive, Fionn McCool's wife, who he initially encountered in the form of a fawn, a female fawn, who his dogs did not attack but rather played with, and she came back to Fionn's dun at Alwyn, and when she was changed into a woman, she became his wife. Druidical calculation of time perceived... Oh, yes, we did say that. Druids evidently held to a version of metempsychosis, in which human souls do not die, but are reborn under different forms. Classical commentators saw parallels with Pythagoras. As healers, they are associated especially with mistletoe and its ritual gathering. I'm not sure how much of this is derived from Irish tradition, but we'll get into more specific Irish material in a few moments. In Ireland, speak of the devil, Druids practiced a form of tonsure called arbach gynnai, Irish frontal curve of the tonsure. which ran from ear to ear instead of being circular form on the crown like the Roman and Christian pattern. Roman persecution led to the decline of the Druidical order, especially after the slaughter on Anglesey in AD 61, when it disappeared from Britain and Wales. Druids survived in Ireland until the coming of Christianity in the 5th century, and in Scotland when the mantle of Druidical magic passed on to Celtic Christian saints, while other aspects passed to the Fili, or the poets, who accommodated themselves to the new religion. The oldest references to Druids appear in classical texts, always in plurals, in Greek druidai, in Latin druidae, druides. These presuppose the Gaulish form druvis, D-R-U-V-I-S, from druids, D-R-U-V-I-D-S, although neither occurs in any Romano-Celtic inspirations. The Old Irish drui, that's D-R-U-I fada, is sometimes translated as druid, but may also be magician, wizard, diviner, or, in more modern poetry, a poet, learned man. And the Welsh D-R-Y-W, which I don't know how to pronounce, apologies, seer may be cognate. From these, Kenneth H. Jackson hypothesizes a Gaulish original, Druids, D-R-U-W-I-D-S, wise man of the woods, or very wise man. The Indo-European root deru, D-E-R-U, implies being firm, solid, or steadfast, as a tree is, or it may be an affirmative prefix or element. Other commentators have seen a cognate in the second syllable, with the Indo-European root wid, W-I-D, to know. Celtic words for oak make an evocative sound. Old Irish and Modern Irish, dar, D-A-I-R. And we'll skip along a little bit because it's all classical and all the rest. Several Druids figure prominently in the three great cycles of Old Irish literature: the mythological cycle, the Ulster cycle, and the Fenian cycle. No, YouTube's stopping again. I can do nothing, folks, but just press on. What I'll do later is I will upload the Facebook video to YouTube instead of the YouTube video to YouTube, if you understand. I'm very sorry. I really don't know what's happening tonight. We've just had some technical hitches. But I must press on, unfortunately. In the Laur Gawala, the Book of Invasions, the Partholonians arrive with 3 Druids. Fish, F-I-O-S, which means intelligence, Ulish, knowledge, and Fomark, inquiring. In the same work, the Druid of the Nemedians, Midja, an eponym for the province of Midja or Meath, lights the first fire in Ireland, which lasts for 7 years, and from which every other fire is lit. Irish Druids are portrayed as masters of divination, including such powers as Dichtel Duchanib, Imbas Forosni, and Chenim Laige. They also reportedly watched flame and smoke for signs and raw flesh. The magical thumb of Fionn McCool is an interesting comparison. Instead of oak, Druids in Ireland favoured the wood of the yew, the hawthorn, and rowan, especially for wands. Ogham figures could be carved into these wands. At the introduction of Christianity, they unsuccessfully disputed with St. Patrick and St. Columkill. Much bogus scholarship, beginning with John Aubrey and continuing in the 18th and 19th centuries, asserted that Druids had migrated to Britain from ancient India, but were nevertheless linked to North American Indians. Very interesting. A full list of Druids in Celtic history would be too extensive to include here. But among the names most often mentioned are Ali in Macpherson's Ossian, Bresel Etherlov, Brechon, Kaiker, Kalachin, Copbad, among the most famous of all Druids, Coron, Dara, the historical Divitiacus the Aeduan, cited by classical commentators. Of course, some of these aren't Irish, obviously. Dil Macu Krekga, Donach Macmorna, etc., etc., etc. It's a big long list there. Okay. So, just for those of you who are watching on YouTube, if you have a Facebook account, I'm just pasting in the link there. Sorry, folks. YouTube streaming problems tonight. If you have a Facebook account, go to... Yeah, so that's all I can do. And my apologies for the interruption. Okay, I'll just catch up with the Facebook comments. Tonsure. Yeah, it's, Yvette is asking what a tonsure is. It's a haircut that the monks had. And they basically cut in a circle, you know. So bald below and hair above. But apparently the Druids had a slightly different tonsure, which was curved from ear to ear. Wendy Holmes, where are you reading this from? That is, the introduction was from James McKillop's the Oxford Dictionary of Celtic Mythology. Alex says, Hawthorn is my birth tree. You Oak and Rowan, cool. Yeah, not forgetting Hazel, which I'm surprised wasn't mentioned in there, but anyway. And now I'm going to read a little bit from an older work, and this is from James Bonwick's Irish Druids and Old Irish Religions. This was actually published in the late 19th century in 18... listed in fact. He is a pharaoh or Belshazzar with a troop of wizards at command. His druids are sorcerers and rain doctors who pretend to call down the storms and the snow and frighten the people with the fluttering wisp and other childish charms. They divined by the observation of sneezing and omens, by their dreams after holding a bull feast or chewing raw horseflesh in front of their idols, by the croaking of their ravens and chirping of tame wrens, or by the ceremony of licking the hot edge of bronze taken out of the rowan tree faggot. They are like the Red Indian medicine men, or the Angakocks of the Eskimo, dressed up in bull's hide coats and bird caps with waving wings. And in that regard, and I'm very sorry, the YouTube stream is completely disconnected. Oh no, it's working again. What am I talking about? Oh yeah, I can see, I'm looking at it here, it's stuttery. In that regard, in relation to the bull feast, that was how the king Conor O'More, Connery Moore, was divined, as it were, to be the king. The chief druid of Tara was to consume the flesh, the raw flesh of a sacrificed or a butchered bull that had been dismembered and placed into a vat. And his dreams had to be recorded very carefully. And in his dream, he saw a man naked coming down one of the roads towards Tara with a dead bird over his shoulder and a slingshot. And that was Conor O'More, who actually did walk down naked, towards Tara. The chief or arch-druid of Tara is shown to us as a leaping juggler with ear clasps of gold and a speckled cloak. He tosses swords and balls into the air, and like the buzzing of bees on a beautiful day is the motion of each passing the other. This, perhaps, the ordinary and most prosaic account of the Irish Druid, is to be gathered from the ecclesiastical annals of St. Patrick. In other words, perhaps this source of reference to the Druids is tainted by the hands of the monks. The monkish writers had assuredly no high opinion of the Druid of tradition, and doubtless no respect for the memory of Taliesin and other members of the craft. Nevertheless, we should bear in mind that these same authorities took for granted all the stories floating about concerning transformations of men and women into beasts and birds, and all relations about gods of old. And again, this is interesting because we were talking in the past 2 episodes in relation to Finn and the coming of Finn about the transformations that often happened from human to animal and back again, sometimes to birds. And how that somebody was talking, commenting that was a shamanic thing, that shamans often, saw themselves transformed into creatures when they went on these otherworld journeys. McKillop's Dictionary of Celtic Mythology is suddenly out of stock at Amazon, says Rowan Grove. You may have something to do with this. Well, can I suggest abebooks.com or .co.uk, which feeds into a network of resellers, and I buy a lot of stuff on ABE books, so you may find a second-hand copy there. Maeve Fianna Callaghan, a couple of good books with Druids info in my library. The Druids, Celtic Priests of Nature by Jean Markale, and The Celts by Peter Beresford Ellis. Thank you for those suggestions, Maeve. Wonderful. And Federica says Jean Markale's book is one of my favourite. On Cree Och says tainted, shock and horror. The church lying, I'm shocked, I say. Maria. O'Byrne Crow has some doubt about Druid stories and primitive missionaries. He finds in the Hymn of St. Patrick the word Druid not but once mentioned, and that it is absent alike in Brockon's Life of St. Bridget and in Coleman's hymn. Though Irish Druidism, says he, never attained to anything like organisation, still its forms and practices, so far as they attained to order, were in the main the same as those of Gaul. Those Christian writers admitted that the Druids had a literature. The author of the Lecan declared that St. Patrick at one time burnt 180 books of the Druids. Wow, so there's a tradition there that there was writing before the Christian monks. Such an example, but of course St. Patrick was 5th century. What they appear to be suggesting is that there were books in pre-Christian times. Such an example, he said, set the converted Christians to work in all parts until, in the end, all the remains of the Druidic superstition were utterly destroyed. Other writers mention the same fact as to this burning of heathen manuscripts. Certainly no such documents had, even in copies, any existence in historic times, though no one can deny the possibility of such a literature. The Welsh, however, claim the possession of Druidic works, but the earliest of these date from Christian times, bearing in their composition biblical references, and, by experts, are supposed to be of any period between the 7th and 12th centuries. And Megan Walters raises a very interesting point, and that is, who can know what was lost? Who indeed? Because if this was an esoteric tradition, it likely actually did not have writing. It had a secret code. It had an oral tradition where the sacred information was passed from generation to generation. And I doubt very much whether there were books of the Druids at the time of St. Patrick. Villemark dates the earliest Breton bards from the 6th century, that's the 6th century AD. Other French writers have them later. At the same time, it must be allowed that early Irish manuscripts, which all date since Christianity came to Ireland, contain references of a mystical character which might be styled druidical. Most of the Irish literature, professedly treating of historical events, has been regarded as having covert allusions to ancient superstitions, the individuals mentioned being of a mythical character. And if you bear with me for one moment, my little heater is on here and it's getting quite warm, so I'm going to turn it off. And I should also mention that there's a beautiful twilight going on out there, so perhaps some of you may get the chance, some of you in this part of the world may get a chance to have a look at the waxing moon and Venus. Venus in the next week, in the early, I think the 4th of April, actually, is at its closest to the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades, in Taurus. So that's something you may wish to have a look at. A considerable number of such references are associated with Druids, whatever these were thought then to be. Miracles were abundant, as they have been in all periods of Irish history. The Irish are known for their miracles. And let's hope that we can work miracles with regards to COVID-19. The deity, the angels, the spirits of the air or elsewhere are ever at hand to work a marvel, though often for little apparent occasion. As the performances of saints are precisely similar to those attributed to Druids, one is naturally puzzled to know where one party quits the field and the other comes on. A large number of these references belong to the Fenian days, when the Tuatha Druids practised their reported unholy rites. Thus, Tege was the father of the wife of the celebrated Fenian leader Fionn MacCool, or Fionn Boigshne, slain at Bra on the Boyne. And we were talking about Finn or Fionn in the past 2 episodes, episodes 17 and 18. But Mac Umor was a druid who confronted St. Patrick. St. Bridget was the daughter of the druid Dovtach. Very interesting. We knew that, didn't we? The druid Kaicher foretold that the race he loved would one day migrate to the west. In Ninine's prayer it is written, "We put trust in St. Patrick, chief apostle of Ireland. He fought against hard-hearted druids." And let's not forget, as we spoke about in the episode about St. Patrick on St. Patrick's Day, that history is written by the victor. And of course, the victor being the Patrick, of course he would say that the druids were hard-hearted because they didn't want to change their beliefs, and that's fair enough. Just making sure I haven't missed anything. Let's have a look here. Oh, I have missed. Sorry, I apologise. Megan Walters, who can know what was lost? Yes. Miriam McTira. I've been quite lonely and down lately. Your live readings and discussions are like food for my mind and heart. I'm delighted to hear that, Miriam. Keep the spirits up. And, remember that us Irish in particular, we have been through many hard times and we've come through them. And this is one of the things that people did throughout the ages, throughout the eras, throughout all of the good times and the bad, was that they told each other these stories, partly as a way, a pedagogical way of teaching, but also, of course, in part to inspire and to uplift. So good to know that it's having the desired effect. Megan Walters, maybe he had collected some written accounts by others and burned those. You never know. It's generally accepted in scholarship in Ireland that writing doesn't appear until about the 8th or 9th centuries. And most of the surviving manuscripts date from the 11th to the 16th centuries. The oldest of which is Laura Nahira, the Book of the Dun Cow. Rowan Grove says, couple more suggested books. Ronald Hutton's Blood and Mistletoe, A History of the Druids in Britain. And Miranda Aldhouse Green's book, Caesar's Druids. Thank you for those suggestions, Rowan. And those 2 names are very familiar to a lot of people, so thank you. Jules Cousins is in and sends us a heart. Tá fáilte roit, Jules. A very good evening to you. Camilla Relland says, isn't that how the tarot cards emerged? To hide archetypal symbolism, secret knowledge and wisdom. Yeah, we're in the realm of sort of alchemy here, aren't we? My favourite time of the day. Lovely, Megan. Delighted to hear it. Aaron says, love Ronald Hutton. He's amazing. On Chree Arch says Ishkabaha, an Irish miracle sláinte. Here's to a glass of Ishkabaha to try and keep everything at bay. And Alex says agreed. Let's hope the gods will give us the elements to work magic to beat COVID-19. Julianne Osborne is watching. Hello, Julianne. Very good evening to you. Catherine Woodruff says, did the Druids shamans weave together knowledge of the sky, the natural Earth's landscape, sculpted earth forms and lore to express their sacred geometry? Did this knowledge and locations create or improve these locations for the living spirits and ancestors' souls to meet? These safe or protected locations and study could help souls through practice, study and meditation work on our continued spiritual work of progress. Very interesting idea, absolutely. Aina Omuraku is saying hello to Simon. Ain Scale, far better than Geoguch. Well, depends on whose god you're talking about. As told by T. O'Flanagan, 1808, King Thady, father of Ossian, was a druid. Iarna was called the Isle of Learned Druids. Plutarch relates that Claudius, exploring, found on an island near Britain an order of magi reputed holy by the people. Tradition says that Partholon from Greece brought 3 druids with him. These were Fish, Ulush and Fomark. That is, observes O'Curry, if we seek the etymological meaning of the words, intelligence, knowledge and inquiry. The Nemedians reached Ireland from Scythia, but were accompanied by Druids, who, however, were confounded by the Fomorian Druids. At first the Nemedians were victorious, but the Fomorian leader brought forward his most powerful spells and forced the others into exile. Beothach, Nemed's grandson, retired with his clan to northern Europe or Scandinavia, where, quote, they made themselves perfect in all the arts of divination, druidism and philosophy, and returned after some generations to Erin under the name of the Tuatha De Danann. The last were the most formidable Druids, though overcome in their turn by the Druids of invading Milesians from Spain. And of course, the invasion myths will provide us with at least a few episodes of live Irish myths in the not too distant future. And there will be one about Aurgine, the spiritual figurehead who could be described as a druid. He was also a bard or a poet, suggesting a druidical role. So we'll deal with him, and you might be interested in going back and seeing the live video from Milmount today. There were Druids Hills, here you go, Justin Moffat. There were Druids Hills at Ishnach, Westmeath, and Clogher of Tyrone. The Dritha were wise men from the east. Dovtach Machi Luar, Archdruid of King MacNeil, or MacNeil, became a Christian convert. The Battle of Moirath, asserted by monkish writers to have taken place in 637, decided the fate of the Druids. And yet the Four Masters, that is, who compiled the Annals of the Four Masters, relate that as early as 927 BC there existed Mor Olavan, the city of the learned, or Druidic seminary. Bachrach, a Leinster Druid, told Cruthor, king of Ulster, something which is thus narrated. There was a great convulsion. What is this? Said Cruthor to his Druid. What great evil is it that is perpetrated this day? It is true indeed, said the Druid. Christ, the Son of God, is crucified this day by the Jews. It was in the same night he was born that you were born, that is, on the 8th of the calends of January, though the year was not the same. It was then that Cruthor believed, and he was one of the two men that believed in God in Erin before the coming of the faith. And Gina Petrea is watching. Hello, Gina. You're very welcome along. Tá fáilte roit. Melanie Lynn is watching. Hello, Melanie. Hope you're keeping safe and warm and well, and that you're physically distant, but not socially distant. Ishnach, yes. It's even Lum on Áit Sin, a very, very special place. Among the names of Druids we have in Cormac's glossary, Sherb, S-E-R-B, daughter of Ska, a Druid of the Connacht men. Yeah, that sounds a little bit like Skahawk, doesn't it? Joyce Torp says hi from the USA. Hello, Joyce. I wonder whereabouts you are, east, west, or somewhere in the middle. But you're very, very welcome. Tá fáilte roit go dí Chaco Morchu. Tá launch Gaelty a gum. Agus in the next, in the coming days, all going well, we'll have lots more stories. Melanie says, doing well. Thanks, Anthony. Delighted to hear it, Melanie. Good that you're in good form. Sorry, I'll do that again. Among the names of Druids we have in Cormac's glossary, Sherb, daughter of Ska, a Druid of the Connacht men, Monu, son of Tualchan, the Druid, and Droyan, a Druid prophesying bird. Wow. D. O'Mirim belonged to Cragavany Hill, Ivna or Oivna to Derry or Londonderry. We read of Trustan. I don't know if these are all Irish. Trustan, Tages, Cadadius, Dadder, Dill, Mogruth, no Mogruth, Dubcomar, Ferkisus, Ida, Ono, Fahan, Lojurg, the Bloody Hand, Lomderg, Lojurg, the Bloody Hand, and Bachrach, or Laginicus Barcadius, Archdruid to King Niall. Some of those have a distinctly Latin sounding about them. Jamie Wickman says hello from Minnesota, USA. Hello, Jamie. You're very welcome along to Live Irish Myths. And on Cree Áit, I'm not getting into that conversation. Druidesses were not necessarily wives of druids, but females possessed of druidical powers, being often young and fair. Some names of druidesses have been preserved, as Gial Chosach or Cussa, white-legged, of Inishowen and Donegal, where her grave is still pointed out to visitors. There was Miluchra, Hag of the Waters, reported to be still living, who turned King Fionn into an old man by water from the lake of Slieve Gullion. Ethna and Bandri were famous sorcerers, and Bandri literally means lady druid or woman druid, female druid. Tradition talks of women's isles of Ireland as of Scotland, where druidesses at certain festivals lived apart from their husbands, as did afterwards Culdee wives at church orders. On St. Michael, on Senna Isle of Brittany and elsewhere, such religious ladies were known. Scotch witches, in their reputed powers of transformation, were successors of druidesses. The old Drogheda Society is tuning in and saying, we are enjoying these Mythical Ireland live sessions. A very good evening to the old Drogheda Society, the local historical society, who has their base at Millmount, the previously mentioned, under the shadow of the mound where reputedly Aurgine Glungal of the Milesians, the bard and druid of the Milesians, is buried. Very good evening to you and lovely to have you along. YouTube is back up and running. Pamela Graham says hello again from Alberta. Cold and light snow here, keeping warm by teaching online and making my son a birthday cake. Well, a very happy birthday to your son, Pamela, and I hope you're keeping well. Ronald McFadden in Los Angeles says hello. Hello, Ronald. You're very welcome along. Tá fáilte rot. Federica Guy says Fidelma, the druidess of the Táin, of course. Fidelm, I see it, wasn't it? I see it crimson, I see it red, yes. Several ancient nunneries are conjectured to have been druidesses' retreats or as being established at such hallowed sites. At Kildare, the retreat of St. Bridget and her nuns, having charge of the sacred fire, there used to be before her time a community of Irish druidesses, virgins, who were called, from their office, Ingya Andaga, daughters of fire. Margaret Ring is saying hello, a little bit late, she says. Evening, not to worry, Margaret, better late than never. We had some trouble with the YouTube feed. We had some technical issues, so we're a little bit behind the time. Richard Moore is watching. Hello, Richard. Tá fáilte rot. Very good to see you, Mochara. The well-known Tuam, with its 90 nuns, may be an instance, since the word Colchach means either nun or druidess, and this is a variant of the word Cailleach, which can mean a veiled one, a nun, but which the Cailleach, of course, predates any Christian nuns. And an example of that is featured in my book. I won't read it, no, because I will get distracted, but there's an example of that where a townland in Clogherhead in County Louth, which is called Callie's Town, was reputedly named after an order of black nuns which was established there in the 15th or 16th centuries. But in fact, if you go to if you go to the sources will tell you that Callie's Town was known as Callia's Town long before the nuns ever arrived there, perhaps from the 13th century. So the name was there before the nuns, and in fact the reason the name was there is because the place name is associated with the old Cailleach, that pre-Christian pagan, if you will, deity of the land, who can be found all over the country, including at Lough Crew, and we covered the Cailleach of Lough Crew in one of our episodes, which is episode number 8. And just in case you're new to Live Irish Myths, I will paste in a link where you can see all of the previous episodes in one place if you want to binge watch. Margaret Ring calls it Mythflix. Or if you go to the Mythical Ireland YouTube channel, they're all there as well. All the previous episodes. They're generally an hour, a little over an hour each. So you have 18 hours of back editions to watch. On this is the word Colchach or Cailleach. Hackett remarks, the probability is that they were pagan druidesses. There you go, exactly. Dr. O'Connor notes the Clúin or sacred retreat for druidical nuns. It was decidedly dangerous for anyone to meddle with those ladies, since they could raise storms, cause diseases, or strike with death. I wonder if they could also reverse diseases and viruses, and if we could perhaps enlist their help in the current situation. But how came Pliny to say that wives of Druids attended certain religious rites naked, but with blackened bodies? Enchantresses, possessed of evil spirits, like as in ancient Babylon, or as in China now, were very unpleasant company and a source of unhappiness in a family. The Reverend J.F. Shearman declared that Luchra and Luchad Moel were the heads of a Druids college, prophesying the coming of Talkend, St. Patrick, that the first was lifted up and dashed against a stone by the saint, the other was burnt in the ordeal of fire at Tara, that the Druid Motes was he who upset the saint's chalice, and that Ida and Ona were two converted Druids. Of course, we always say that Christianity managed to come to Ireland without any blood being spilt, and of course that is often said, but in fact, if you look at the mythology or the folklore around it, there may not have been blood spilt on the Christian side, but it seems on the Druid side there certainly was. Tracy O'Connor is watching. Very good evening, Tracy. Late to the story this eve. We'll watch again later. Sounds fascinating. Make sure you watch on Facebook, because which you are anyway. But the YouTube feed we had trouble with. We had some technical hitches. So I'm going to upload the Facebook version to YouTube later on. The Synod of Drumceat in 590 laid restrictions on Druids, but the Druids were officially abolished after the decisive battle of Moirath in 637. The bilingual inscription of Killeen Cormac, which is of 4 true Druids, was said to refer to Dovtak Macnlúgal, as one of the 4, he having been baptised by Patrick. Dr. Ritchie may be right when he says, in his History of the Irish People, attempts have been made to describe the civilization of the Irish in pre-Christian periods by the use of the numerous heroic tales and romances which still survive to us. But the Celtic epic is not more historically credible or useful than the Hellenic, the Táin Bó Cúailnge than the Iliad. It is probable that the readers of the foregoing tales, or those hereafter to be produced, may be of the same opinion. Not even the prophecy of St. Patrick's advent can be exempted, though the Fiach hymn runs. For thus had their prophets foretold then the coming of a new time of peace would endure after Tara, laid desert and silent. Desert. I presume it's, desert as in deserted. The Druids of Laery had told of his coming, had told of the kingdom. And of course they did. According to the tradition, Laera's Druids said, when they saw the fire, the Paschal fire, lit up on the Hill of Slane, they said, if you don't put that fire out tonight, that fire will burn forever in Ireland. Ireland had a supply of the so-called Druidical appendages and adornments. There have been found golden torques, gorgets, armillets and rods of various sorts and sizes. Some were twisted, some were thin laminae of gold with rounded plates at the ends. Others had penannular and bulbous terminations. Twisted wire served for lumbers or girdle torques. A twisted one of gold picked up at Ballycastle weighed 22 ounces. Gorgets are seen only in Ireland and Cornwall. The dying gladiator in Rome had a twisted torque about his neck. The gold mines of Wicklow doubtless furnished the precious metal as noted in Shankras Mór. Pliny refers to the golden torques of Druids. One from Tara was 5 foot 7 inches long, weighing 27 ounces. A toe, Todh, found 12 feet in a Limerick bog, was of thin chased gold with concave hemispherical ornaments. The Ion Moran, or breastplate, would contract on the neck if the judges gave a false judgment. The crescent ornament was the Irish Kendra Ray, a sacred ship answering to Talisin's glass boat. An armilla of 15 ounces was discovered in Galway. etc., etc., etc. And of course, all of those were originally in the collection of the Royal Irish Academy, and these days, except during the current lockdown, these days can be seen in the National Museum in Dublin. Professor O'Curry says, some of our old glossarists explain the name Druid by doctus, learned, and Fili, Fili, a poet, as a lover of learning. But Cormac McCullonan, in his glossary, derives the word Fili from fee, venom, and li, brightness, meaning that the poet's satire was venomous and his praise bright or beautiful. The Druid in his simple character does not appear to have been ambulatory, but stationary. He is not entitled to any privileges or immunities such as the poets or brehons or judges enjoyed. He considers the Druid's wand was of yew and that they made use of ogham writing. He names Tua Druids as Brian, Tucharba, Bov, Macha and Morrigan. And we'll have an episode about Morrigan within the next couple of days. I've just been preparing for that. And so we will do Morrigan and the Battle of Moitura as an introductory episode to Morrigan. Possibly tomorrow, if not Wednesday. Kesar Gnahach and Ingnahach among fur bullocks, Ur Eher and Amergin as Milesians. And there's Amergin getting his mention, or Aurgin from Millmount, from the old Drogheda Society. For an illustration of Irish Druidism, reference may be made to the translation by Hancock and O'Mahony of the Seancus Mór. Some of the ideas developed in that Christian work were supposed traditional notions of earlier and druidical times. Thus we learn that there were 8 winds, the colours of which were white and purple, pale grey and green, yellow and red, black and grey, speckled and dark, the dark brown and the pale. From the east blows the purple wind, from the south the white, from the north the black, from the west the pale. The red and the yellow are between the white wind and the purple, etc. The thickness of the earth is measured by the space from the earth to the firmament. The 7 divisions from the firmament to the earth are Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, Sol, Luna and Venus. From the moon to the sun is 244 miles, but from the firmament to the earth 3024 miles. As the shell is about an egg, so is the firmament around the earth. The firmament is a mighty sheet of crystal. The 12 constellations represent the year as the sun runs through one each month. Very interesting. We are also informed that Bri Ambui was a female author of wisdom and prudence among the men of Éireann, and after her came Connla Cainvrahach, chief doctor of Connacht. He excelled the men of Éireann in wisdom, for he was filled with the grace of the Holy Ghost. He used to contend with the Druids, who said it was they that made heaven and the earth and the sea and the sun and the moon. But the Christians had other ideas. This Seancus Mór further stated that when the judges deviated from the truth of nature, there appeared blotches upon their cheeks. It is not surprising that Dr. Ritchie, in his short history of the Irish people, should write, as to what Druidism was, either in speculation or practice, we have very little information. As far as we can conjecture, their religion must have consisted of tribal divinities and local rites. As to the Druids themselves, we have no distinct information. He is not astonished that authors, quote, authors from the reaction are now found to deny the existence of Druids altogether. Unquote. He admits that, at the reputed time of St. Patrick, the Druids, quote, seem to be nothing more than the local priests or magicians attached to the several tribal chiefs, perhaps not better than the medicine men of the North American Indians. As if lowering them and lowering them and lowering them. That is all I intend to read tonight. We can continue the Druids because there's lots of material on them, and that is actually a very good book, even though it's an older book. It's a very good book as an introduction to the Druids. I don't have Miranda Green's work, and I don't have Ronald Hutton's work, but perhaps if I get a chance, I may saunter onto the internet and try to locate some copies. If I can get them posted, which is a big question mark at the moment because everything is shut down here, although our postal service is still operating. I would be delighted to take any questions, or if there are any other comments. I may not be able to answer them. I'm not that learned in the terms of druids. I do think one thing that's missing here is their hazel rod, which is a divination tool, but which is also associated with Elkmar, who is very druidical when he appears at Sheedenbroger in the Tuchmark Etain, when Angus is being urged at Samhain, which is a very interesting time of the year too, to threaten him to leave Sheedenbroga. And we won't comment on whether he was successful or not, because Tuchmark Etain, the wooing of Etain, will provide us with at least one episode. And very interesting in that regard is the idea that we encountered very early on in Bonwick's work, which is that metempsychosis was a belief in pre-Christian times. Very good. Captain Shamrock. YouTube is funny because people can go by their handles. Like on YouTube, I'm Mythical Ireland. Captain Shamrock says, I used to have a book by Eileen O'Fuelon called Irish Sagas and Folk Tales, and read it over and over as a kid. Think I will buy it again for posterity. You should check it out too, Mr. Mythical Ireland. Thank you for the suggestion, and absolutely I will do that. Have you ever heard of the spear of the King of Persia, Pizar? Yes, indeed. Wasn't that in the fate of the Sons of Turin, which we covered in episode 2, I think it was, all those ages and ages ago. This is 19, so that's 17 episodes again. Yes, the coming of the sun god Lu and the story of the fate of the Sons of Turin. And we may be able to actually cover the Sons of Turin again in another episode, because there are several tellings of that legend. The Curious Celt says, thanks Anthony, I learned a lot and appreciate the book references. I am researching the Druids for a short film project. Well, very good luck with that, and I hope it goes well for you. Margaret Ring, amazing how these webcasts are unfolding truths. Well, I'm learning all the time. I hope you are too, and I'm enjoying myself, and it's definitely taken my mind off the whole situation. Drogheda today, I walked around Drogheda for exercise, and it is a very, very strange time because it's so eerily quiet. Not in my entire life do I ever remember the town being so quiet, and absolutely everybody seems to be doing their thing to try and contain this virus, and hopefully it'll work, and we'll get the better of it, Wendy Holmes says, so much fascinating information. I didn't realise there was so much. I will have to even listen to this again. Yeah, absolutely, Wendy. And the thing is, we actually have only scratched the surface. There is lots more material about the Druids. I suspect we'll be able to do at least another 2 episodes about the Druids. On Cree Arch, I do have a question. I would love to do a broadcast to introduce people to Gaeilge and break it down for them. Could you give me tips? Gora Mahagot, loving these episodes. Not really, because my own Irish is very poor on Cree Arch. So perhaps there would be more learned experts. And if you do come to do such a thing, I would love to join in with that, because it's something I have great regret about, is that I didn't have the love for Irish and old stories that I do now, So, yeah, very good idea though. Margaret Ring, amazing how these webcasts are unfolding truths. It's all very good. Tanya Noble says, I always thought the Druids were good. Is this not so? Well, we encountered, didn't we, in the Finn story, that there was like a black Druid or a dark Druid, and undoubtedly, as in the case where you get this sort of learned caste, this elite, let's call them, in the society of the time. There's always going to be the rotten apples in the barrel. There's always going to be those who are going to use their knowledge for ulterior purposes, So perhaps not all good, and perhaps not all nicey. Justin Moffat says, great stuff, Anthony. Take care. Justin, I hope you're keeping well, and you and all yours are safe and sound. Remember, physical distancing, but not social distancing. And just to say to everybody, especially my friends who watch this, I am, although I'm still working full time, thankfully, I am on the other end of the phone. I am on the other end of a Skype call. I am on the other end of a Facebook video message. If you need someone to talk to, if you want to share your burdens, please feel happy to get in touch. We don't want anybody feeling isolated and alone. Tracy says, not that learned yet. We're getting there. After 21 years of study, we're still only scratching the surface. Yeah, Jamie Wickman makes a very good point. But the medicine men of the American natives are very holy and revered people, not an insult at all. And I was going to say that when I was reading it. It's like a put down. It's like this Victorian belief that Irish Stone Age monuments were rude stone monuments, and the medicine men of the American natives are primitive, savages, etc., etc. Quite the opposite. Very learned people. Catherine Wall McManus says, mine too, Bear Bua. Yes, love the Druids, says Margaret. Okay, I think yes, and Alex says he can't wait for Morrigan. Yeah, well, we'll be doing an introduction to Morrigan probably tomorrow. I'll probably do that tomorrow. And a treat in that regard is I'm going to be reading from the work of Morgan Daimler. And so many of you who follow Mythical Ireland may be familiar with Morgan Daimler's work. Morgan is a scholar who knows Old Irish and has a fabulous knowledge of the older Irish, which sadly I don't possess. And so Morgan's work will introduce us to Morrigan, and hopefully we'll do that tomorrow. I think we will do that tomorrow. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's what we will do. And that may actually be the first of 2 episodes about Morrigan, because again, there's lots and lots of information about her there. Tanya Noble says, thank you, very interesting to watch and listen. I can't wait to visit Ireland and Scotland. I have always had a love of Ireland and Scotland that I can't explain. I can't explain it either. I love this place. I love the sods of earth under my feet. I love its very stones. I love to kiss the air of Ireland. There's something about this place that is truly magical. Can't disagree with you, Tanya. Red Moonhead, have you told any stories of the Long Woman's Grave? Not yet. Channel has been a great place to disseminate all this great work. If you actually look back, you'll see there's tons of stuff, and there's probably stuff about the Druids as well that I've done. So there's a resource there as well. Tracy says, stay safe everyone, see you all soon online. Thanks Anthony, you're very welcome. Brendan Kinch says, Slán Gofol, that's all. Ihawa, good night to all of you, and we'll see you all tomorrow evening, hopefully the same time, 8 p.m. If that changes, I'll let you know sometime in the middle of the day. Otherwise, we'll see you all then. I'm Anthony Murphy. This is Live Irish Myths from Mythical Ireland. It's been a great pleasure. And that was the Druids Part 1. And we will certainly have, at the very least, one more episode about the Druids, if not several. Very good night to you all. Thanks a million for watching. And there goes Facebook and YouTube. I'm very sorry to the YouTubers. This has been a very interrupted feed. I don't know what's wrong tonight, but what I will do is, if you're able to hear what I'm saying, is I will upload the Facebook video to YouTube so that the thing will be there in its entirety, hopefully without the freezes. And we will see all of you YouTubers again tomorrow evening, hopefully at 8 p.m. Thanks a million for watching. Slán go fóill agus ihawa.